I'm going to do if that happens.
Whoa!
It's all good. It's all good. We are live. What's up, everyone? Welcome to another episode of The Gang Saves Humanity. My name's James Ellers. With me, as always, we have Heidi.
Yang gang.
Yay! We will watch for her mic to fall over. We also, with us today, we have John.
Hello.
For anybody that who what do you call it? Preteen yang? Teenager yang? Middle school yang? Middle school yang.
Yeah.
I think that's probably most known as. So it's always a shock when people see my face for the first time. But I think a decent number of people have now, but it's a shock when people see it for the first time. So
this is the face reveal of middle school yang.
And he's intentionally left his lighting pretty dark, so
it's still mysterious.
For the mystery, yeah, to keep it a little mysterious.
How do we get famous people in the chat? What the hell? Herzog? Good job today. I can't wait.
Treacle?
God.
Yeah.
Damn.
We've literally got nothing but Yang Gang influencers in the chat right now. Hey guys.
So let's topic today is kind of social media related. So let's talk about what happened today. So what are you guys? Oh no!
Why are we doing this?
What happened?
I don't know. Whose mic's that?
Huh?
It's none of our mics. How's that?
I don't think it's mine.
What happened?
Heidi's mic?
What did I do?
Was someone yelling?
Oh, maybe my TV's on.
I was like, all right, we'll have to play that back. Go check on that.
Nobody look at my butt.
All right, I'm gonna mute that. So today we were trending Yang Gang for Congress. How do you think? What you want to talk about? Kind of lead up to that, and then what happened? And
so we were deciding what would make more sense, I guess, for today's trend. And we our goal, I guess, as Forward United was to try and get Jonathan's campaign really boosted and to try and get that debate to happen. And I think we went with Yang Gang for Congress just because that has much more trending potential, because we've one of the things we've realized is it seems like anything with Yang's name in it, or Yang Gang or whatever, that just has such a higher chance of trending. So like always, every single time we have some kind of trend planned, either Trump or Biden says something absurd or does something crazy or suggests bleach drinking as a treatment for COVID. And then we can't it's tough then to crack top 10. Congress passed UBI. That was on the Trump day, right? The Trump bleach day. And we
bleach day
still got third. Pretty good, but it's those are things that we can't really plan for, I guess.
Well, isn't it part of it that we got a lot of extra help? It wasn't just Yang Gang that was involved in it. It picked up a lot of steam amongst other people that were why is this trending? Oh wait, this is great. So
right. That was a huge difference because burners, I think, were in on that one. And I think the Twitter algorithm likes that when it's outside of just one single network. And I think today we had trouble kind of having it go outside of the network, but that's because we had, Yang Gang in the trend. And I don't know, I consider it a success because we're 4 months post-campaign, and the fact that we're still able to kind of systematically at least get something on the trend list.
For it to get up to 23, and the thing with especially what Biden did and said, it brought so many people onto Twitter that would not have been there otherwise, let alone, just talking about things that would not have been talked about otherwise. So just for us to break the top, the trending list in the country with everything that was going on, that's something in itself. If that wasn't going on, we would have gotten top 10 easily. I feel so I'm happy with it, especially with a lot of, it seems like there's there is some buzz around like what would be going on with the debate, right? I think someone followed Jonathan Herzog, that a guy that hosts every single debate in New York. Did you guys see that?
Yes. That was the guy that is, yeah, he's moderated. I forgot what his name is. We're not entirely sure if that worked out so well. Errol Lewis. Yes, there you go.
Oh, yeah.
How so? Educate me.
He actually tagged Jonathan in a tweet, basically saying, "Get off my lawn, you damn kids," or something like that.
Well, that's a good start.
Oh, wow. Okay. But we got their attention for sure, right?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
Nadler had to have seen it. I mean, he.
Oh, yeah. I was tagging him too, and I know
He's blowing up probably, but it's, I don't know. I different people probably have different perceptions of how much Twitter matters, which is like, I guess, something I'm hoping to talk about here. But it's kind of like, I don't know. Some people take it too seriously in terms of like allowing Twitter to dictate everything, and they think that that's like what Twitter's saying is representative of what the country thinks.
Right.
And then some people don't pay like enough attention to it. Like there is kind of a middle, like I think it's a nuanced thing in terms of what matters and what doesn't.
Yeah.
And we've had, in the past year, we've had like multiple examples in each category where we take Twitter too seriously in some cases, but then other times we don't give it, I guess, like enough credit for how much it matters. And the answer is usually kind of in the middle, you know?
Yeah. So let's go ahead.
I was going to say, would you say that when it comes to doing things like getting your representatives or the media's attention, kind of like what Jonathan was trying to do today, was literally get his opponent's attention, get the attention of his local media and this moderator, that it's at least good for that? Would you say that that's a good use of Twitter?
Yeah, that's like the best use of Twitter, I would say, because Twitter's where the media hangs out. So even, you know, like what's the number of, there's like a percentage of voters that
it's like 20 something percent. I think.
Not a high percent. There's no doubt that Facebook has way more voters on there.
Yeah.
Every other platform does, honestly, but nobody or no platform has like the media presence. And like the extrapolation of stories, like when something's trending on Twitter, like the media usually picks up on that. So that's why in like saying Twitter isn't real life, I feel that's like a lot of people that follow me know that's kind of a pet peeve, because it's like, that's a simple take, because it can turn into real life quickly. And we've proven that a bunch of times, but obviously I think some people, when they try to say that Twitter's not real life, a lot of times they're like, depending on how they're saying it, they're correct. Like obviously if Twitter was everything, we would have won the race.
Yeah. But your representatives, your senators, they're on Twitter, and this is how they communicate. This is how they put out like what they're doing, what they're working on. It's how Trump communicates with the country. So when it comes to like the people whose attention we want to get with something like what we did today, it's a great medium, I think. So I agree with you with the people that are like, oh, Twitter isn't anything. Yeah. We got some attention today from the people that we were trying to get attention from. So yeah,
and not to mention, like after Congress passed UBI, I feel like that definitely moved the needle. I mean, Tim Ryan came out and said that it moved the needle specifically.
Nancy Pelosi literally came out and said, hey, we need to start looking at UBI, when she's never, like, she completely brushed off Yang's whole candidacy, right? Yeah. She's never said anything about it before. And then she's like, hey, maybe we need to look at that the day we did it, like that evening. And then she said it again the following Monday.
Yeah.
So we're about to get that Easter egg. My mic's going to
fall over. Oh my God. We'll wait for it. So let's zoom out a bit. Let's use that as a segue into social media in general. You know, how the Yang Gang, I mean, became such a social media giant, as well as how important it is like actually, you know what I mean? Because I feel like, a lot of us probably put a little more weight on Twitter than it actually carries, and we need to focus on different parts.
Yeah.
So let's get into that. So what do you think? Just give us your mentality on just social media in general and how we should be using it.
So, like, I think one thing that we can point to, like one thing that we have going for us, and I feel like we need to take advantage of, is that we have like the Bernie movement came before us, and we
Right.
can like learn so much, good and bad, from what they did or didn't do.
Yeah.
And we saw this past cycle, like the Bernie bro reputation hurt them. I
Yeah.
mean, that really, I'm not saying that was the difference and that like the DNC would have allowed Bernie to win if Bernie bros were friendly. But like there was even, I think, a campaign ad, like an official campaign ad that attacked Bernie bros. Do you guys remember that? Where it showed tweets. Like it showed like
Yes.
mean Bernie bro tweets. And it's, I don't know. I just feel like between that and just in general, like the way that reputation was built and how much that ended up mattering, like that's something we need to be in general putting like first and foremost, is keeping our overall reputation positive so that we are like a welcoming movement and that we can build that coalition of people maybe that aren't as like, I don't know, maybe aren't as like diehard, but are still willing to vote and are willing to join our movement kind of on the periphery.
And
so
that's on that note, I think that's one of the very important things a lot of us noticed after Yang dropped out, where for whatever reason, a lot of the commentary around Yang Gang was going further and further left, where it's a little more exclusive than what it was during the actual campaign.
Yeah.
Because in reality, like the Yang Gang is made up from people in every political party, every political ideology, and for us to keep moving, like there were specific people trying to push it more and more left, and I think especially us here, like John's a founding member of Forward United, Heidi's a founding member of Forward United, like especially around the time where the Congress passed UBI trend. James Treacle in the chat, also a founding member. We're just like, we can't keep going further and further left and make this more of a super exclusive group because first off, that's not what we are. And second of all, that's exactly following the Bernie playbook. And we kind of saw how that played out. So I feel like we thankfully are starting to rein that in a little bit, especially Forward United. Like we want to support candidates and policies and everything. We're nonpartisan, right? So if you're Humanity Forward, if you support UBI and all these things, like we'll support you regardless of party. So I wanted to tag that on with what you said.
Yeah. And to go back to the Twitter trend thing, something that I've pointed out quite a few times is like you could put like a dollar value on Twitter trends, because you can, if you're a company, like if you're Nike and you have a new shoe coming out and you want that new shoe to be the top trend of the day on Twitter, you pay $200,000 to be that top trend. So when we managed to get something like especially, I forget which ones hit this point, but we had a few that were like number one. And when that
internationally too.
Yeah, no, like America Needs Yang, I think, and the one Poll the People was another one. Endorse Andrew Yang. Like when those really blast off, like we're getting it. It's free. That's really the whole point. Is like the campaign's not spending $1, and we are we're able to actually like create value in the form of exposure. And then it's a bonus when you have media outlets pick up on it. And it's like for Newsweek and Forbes, it's kind of like for them, it's probably like a nice, easy story. It's like, oh, the Yang Gang's trending again. And then everybody kind of wins. So that stuff, it really does matter. And like, I also want to stress that it matters like now, because if there's a hypothetical 2024 run, like these seeds being planted right now, I feel like matter, even though a lot of people that were heavy on Twitter during the campaign maybe aren't anymore, which makes it even cooler that we're still able to trend. But it's like, though, I was telling Ellers this before we went live, but there's so many people, like Bernie people especially, that don't really, they kind of feel like we felt like a few years ago, where we felt kind of politically homeless.
Yeah.
And so we need to be like planting the seeds now to, get them thinking like, oh, I could vote for him in 2024, or I could join that movement. Now that they don't have, because I think a lot of them just automatically didn't like Yang because, frankly, we took away a lot of Bernie's votes. I mean, I'd be annoyed too, if I was a diehard Bernie bro. It's easy to blame us for taking a lot of their energy, and because I was into Bernie in 2016, and it was not the same in 2020. It was not like the cool, there was a different energy about it in 2016, and I feel like a ton of people that created that energy for them flipped to Yang. And so now we have this like massive opportunity to attract those people for over the next few years. And that can be happening right now, especially while the whole world is on the internet, because there's, a lot of us are still on lockdown. So.
And we definitely can't go into it. Like, I was a burner in 2016. We can't go into it with like a kind of an entitled attitude of it's Yang's turn, because I feel like that was a lot. That was what happened with Hillary in 2016. They were like, it's Hillary's turn. But then in 2020, the burners, which I was one up until a year ago, it was very much it's Bernie's turn. And they like when you feel so entitled, and when you're so like that into like some of the arguments that they would make were just literally just gaslighting people. They were just so like it's Bernie's turn, right? And so we have to learn that lesson in 2024, right? We can't be like it's Yang's turn. It's like alienating people and then like gaslighting them into
especially if Yang does good in the first few states, because it got even worse when Bernie won a few states. And then it just crashed in South Carolina and has not recovered.
And I think that's why. And Yang even said this. I think he said this on the Sam Harris Yang Speaks podcast. But like every single thing he's doing is to mainstream himself for the potential for 2024. And it makes all the sense in the world. I mean, if he, if Yang's in a position to win, if he like, let's just fast forward and say, and we have a long way to go for this to happen. But let's say he's doing well in the first few states, similar to how Bernie did. I feel like he's trying to create a like a scenario where there's not as much pushback from the establishment, because he won, and he did endorse Biden, and he did all of he kind of walked that line to please those voters that he's going to need. And I feel like we, like as a movement, have to do that too, so that we're able to attract the right people. And whether there's a Yang 2024 or not, just the overall idea of UBI and humanity first and all of these things that we stand for, like we just want it to be, it's all about psychology. We want it to be attractive for other people to want to join.
Yeah, and you can get along with other people without compromising your values and what you're trying to do. And it seemed like they were drawing that line in the sand, like if you are with them at all, or if you work with them at all, you're selling out, you're canceled, right? And I mean, it feels great, I guess, but it accomplishes like absolutely nothing. So I want to, before we get any further, I actually want to take this further back. So the things like what we were doing, the Yang Gang became known as, the Yang Gang, good at the internet, Twitter trending. That's something that I don't think anyone's really honed in on before. So how did the Yang Gang do this? I know, John, you're like OG and you're part of Humanity for Yang. If you know this, how did they figure out their power? And just give us a story. I want to know how this all, because this was before my time. So how did this all happen, if you know?
Yeah. So I'm almost positive the first time a Yang related thing trended was let Yang speak
Okay.
after debate number 1. And this, like, I've talked to Morgan Rudman about this, and I want to say this was kind of like the official social media team, like Kaylee. I want to say they may have kind of launched it. Like, it obviously wasn't as organized as we do things now. It was pretty spontaneous.
Yeah.
But on the night of debate 1, that was a dark night, because we had been like people who had been in since February when he was on Rogan. We were like, we were working to get him on the debate stage, and then he makes the debate stage. And then debate 1 is a total disaster. They barely let him talk.
Cut his mic. Yeah.
Yeah. Like and the questions weren't really like in his wheelhouse. And I went to a coworker's house to watch that debate, and I was like decked out in my Yang stuff, and I was like ready for him to just dominate. And then he talks for like 2 minutes. Like, it was just such a demoralizing night. And then the clip surfaces like late, probably like 11:30 at night, that shows that his mic was cut.
Yeah.
And people immediately kind of turned it from, because there were people that were like mad at Yang. There were people who were just kind of like, did I make a mistake thinking this guy's legit, whatever. And then people saw that clip. And it was like, immediately it turned into this rallying kind of thing where everybody got back behind the gang and behind Yang. And that, I remember tweeting something like late, like at midnight, and then going to bed. And then I woke up and the tweet had like blown up, and let Yang speak had been trending like all night.
Yeah.
And that was just like, it was the first like feeling of it being kind of a rush, because trending, it's a rush when and there's as much value for that, I feel like, as anything, because it gets people fired up. And so that was kind of like the very beginning of it. And then I think it was like mid to late July, I get a DM from Joe Kenny. Remember that name?
Joe Kenny, yeah.
Blast from the Past. So Joe Kenny was like one of the OG, like super early, his tweets would always blow up. And so he DM'd me saying like, hey, the campaign is trying to put together like a semi-official thing where we try and organize ourselves on Twitter, because we kind of do have this power, and let's see how far we can kind of take it. And so the original, it was called the Yang Gang Hub. And then there was some things that happened, and we've since rebranded to Humanity for Yang, which is now run by Eddie and Eric. I think both of them are in the chat currently.
Yeah, I'm sorry, guys. It was impromptu. I would have invited you all. You're all here.
Yeah.
We love you guys.
Yes, we do. So, and we kind of like, we would have like a weekly Zoom call, and we started a group chat that still exists to this day, where we started planning, not just trends, but we would also like share. And this, over the summer, it was like hard to find like a blue checky tweet about Yang that was positive. It was like exciting. If like a random actor was like, hey, this guy is really making sense, like we would all excitedly boost that tweet, Yeah. And so really what we did, and what we still in some senses do to this day, is like we are kind of like organized human bots, sort of.
Yes.
Where we boost certain things. We try and make sure that certain tweets are seen by everybody, or as many people as possible. And so that's sort of how I guess it started, and it went from there. And there were a lot of things that made a big impact. I mean, something like Yang Media Blackout, that's still something that's like used often, and is kind of a big theme for us. And the other thing too that I want people to know is like how much time we spend like really thinking about what we try to trend, because we know like even let Yang speak, there were like some people who didn't like it because people thought that maybe it would make us sound whiny. Another one that we debated for a while was Yang was right, because it sounds really petty. And we we were going to do that at some point, and we decided against it. And then once Trump decided he was going to cut the checks, we're like, okay, now it's like, fuck it, he is right. Like, I don't think anybody.
Yang saves democracy.
Like, if we want to be like, and I feel like every time we've gone like the aggressive kind of route, it's kind of worked out, I feel like. And that's one advantage we have is we have such power on the internet that we can in some ways control narratives. Where I feel like Yang and the Yang Gang are like tough to cancel kind of because we are always going to outnumber them in comments. And if anyone comes at us, we usually win the ratio. And it's like that, I feel like, I don't know, that power's something that it's like tough to quantify, but it's there for sure. Yeah. And so I don't know, that's some of the stuff that we do. And also quick plug for Humanity for Yang. We're now like kind of expanding what we do. We want to help any candidate who considers themselves to be humanity forward and humanity first. And whether they've been part of the Yang Gang in the past or not, we want to boost really any organization, any person, any candidate that represents what we're all about. And so those are the things that Humanity for Yang does. And it's fun. I've already said this, but it's a rush. Like when we plan a trend and then it, ends up being used by, big accounts and it's one of the top trends of the day and it's something that we came up with. It's pretty neat, but it is something we're careful with because we don't want people to get the wrong impression. We don't want people to perceive it kind of the wrong way. And like I said, our reputation is important in terms of just are we a group that people want to be part of? Yeah. And so when we trend, we want it to kind of like appear like it's a cool thing to be part of,
Well, what I want to say, one of my favorite parts of it is like Andrew himself doesn't even know how we do it. like no one in the campaign actually knows how to like organize or control or whatever the Yang Gang. Like Andrew himself will be like, "Hey guys, can you help me here?" But he doesn't know what we do.
Yeah, it is new, right? Like I don't, and I'm like. During the campaign, I was thinking this. I'm like, there's like Bernie definitely had probably more people on Twitter, like easily more people than we have. But their trends would be kind of organic, and organic trends are great too. But like, I don't think they had some kind of like group chat operation where they were planning weeks in advance something that they were going to try and get going. So it is kind of a brand new thing. And it's been messy at times too. Like that was one thing, like when the Yang Gang Hub started, I remember even like, I think at first I was hesitant. Like I told Joe Kenny, I'm like, this is going to piss some people off. When we say like, here's what we are doing. Like we are deciding that we're trending this. It's like, that's going to rub some people the wrong way. Yeah. So it's like a tough balancing act where we want voices to be heard. We want the entire Yang Gang to feel like they're in on this. But having it like organized and launched, like that's undoubtedly been valuable. So that's kind of,
you guys are also very egalitarian, and that's something with the Yang Gang is like, there's no power structure where someone is leading and everyone, you've got, whatever. Like you guys, when you're doing a trend, you vote on it. Nobody just like takes off on their own and is like, trying to trend this really terrible trend. It doesn't happen. Like everybody works together. You put it to a vote. You get a lot of opinions. You get, it's just very it's very democratic, like the process.
Yeah.
So
that's what we go for. And there's times where it's like, somebody mentions a hashtag and like immediately everybody's like, that's the one. Like sometimes you just know when something's going to kind of pop off. But other times it's like we really think we've landed on one and then somebody brings up a good point that like, this might not work, or it'll get like hijacked by somebody, and it's like, shit, I like that one. But so that's kind of what we do.
That's awesome. So My question is there a way like that we can figure out how to duplicate it across like Instagram and Facebook? Because I feel like Twitter, I don't want to say figure it out, but I feel like we do pretty well with Twitter, and then these other ones are kind of just there.
Yeah.
So what do you think we can do to kind of expand it?
Yeah, that's for sure something that we have to do. And it's like Twitter is so unique. Like I feel like Twitter is the most like friendly to what we do in terms of organizing and pushing something. Like there's no equivalent to that on Facebook, but it's like, yeah, Treacle just said in the chat, it's vital. Like Facebook, we didn't have enough of a presence on Facebook. And there were some, one really good idea that I feel like we didn't do quite enough of was there's a Facebook group called Likes for Yang. And you share the link to your post in that group, and then, people in that group go and like your post. So then when your coworkers are scrolling their Twitter, their Facebook feed and see your post about Yang, it's got 65 likes and comments, and it just like, once again, it's all like mass psychology type stuff where it kind of like gets people thinking like, oh, there's a lot of people who are into this guy, or are into this movement, and maybe it's something I should get behind. Like that's just the way people's brains work. If they see these links that are blowing up, even if we systematically like kind of cheat to make it happen, who cares? That's kind of, it's a good strategy. So I would say that there was something somebody was doing toward the end of the campaign involving like groups. And I don't remember, like Adam, I think was his name. I forget what it was. And there might've been some controversy. Yeah. I don't remember, but it seemed like a cool idea. But yeah, I'm all about trying to expand on Facebook, because as far as I can tell, Facebook is just a dumpster fire of like Trump.
Trump has figured it out. Like, Trump has
pandemic, and like all this shit. Like it's either one or the other. And I think another thing that's amazing is like, I don't know about you guys, but I still meet people who know nothing about Yang. Like literally, maybe I've heard the name. It's like, to us, it just seems insane because our lives were wrapped up in it for a year. But it's like, there are a lot of people out there, and a lot of people who are potential Yang gangers. There's so many people who are sick of Trump, but also don't really feel like, they're exactly where we were, just maybe they're not on the internet as much. So they just never got caught up in the scene. But it's like, we have such an opportunity to reach those people, and Facebook is where a lot of them are hanging out.
That's definitely a focus of ours. Like James Treacle was just saying, Facebook is vital, and he's kind of heading up an effort because literally Trump has figured it out. They figured out the psychology of Facebook, like you were saying, and now we have to do that as well. We have to like dive into this dumpster fire of. I hate it.
I can't even go on there for long enough.
I can't
to like. I get pissed off. I get in some arguments in a local group, and then I just leave. I feel like the strategy, like Twitter, is more targeted and strategic, and you could move kind of together and do and target it a lot better. I feel like Facebook, you would just need a massive, constant stream of content always being thrown out there. Not only to get your content viewed, but to kind of push back around all the other bullshit that's on there. Like there's just so much bad information on there. Right. Like it's just, I feel like there would have to be just a massive wave of content constantly.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's definitely tricky. I would love to hear from like the people who ran Basecamp and stuff like that. They might kind of have some good ideas on that. But yeah, I mean, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok. Shout out Eddie.
I know Eddie.
Oh, we have to figure out TikTok.
Yeah,
Eddie,
I mean,
help us.
Yeah, like we hear about some crazy stories on TikTok, like Tatted Lawyer Michael. His girlfriend made a TikTok like a few months ago, and she's got like some insane amount of followers,
like 40,000. I think he said.
Right. So it's in terms of numbers, like TikTok, we need to have a presence on there where at least people are seeing Yang's name and young people see him as part of like kind of a cool cultural movement. Like we have to become that in Bernie's place, because that is what Bernie was. Young people who probably didn't even end up voting, but like would kind of just half follow politics. Like I think it was just their default to go to Bernie. And we need to make it so that that's Yang, where it's like, well, duh, I'm a young person. I lean left. This is a cool guy, and this is a cool, passionate movement. And so I'm in. Like, that's what we need to create. And yeah.
The last part, embarrass yourself, is the
Eddie.
main thing.
Ellers is so good at that.
I just opened up TikTok, and that's what that sound was. I'm like, let me open up and see if I Eddie told me like a month ago, maybe more than that. I don't know. He's like, just get on TikTok and start making posts. And I'm like, I'm fine with embarrassing myself, but to the point of like being funny on camera, like I haven't really nailed that yet. So like
how are dad jokes doing on TikTok?
I literally just started posting them like 4 days ago. I was like, fuck it, I'm gonna do dad jokes. So that's all I'm gonna do right now until I figure this shit out, because I still feel stupid. But the thing, like, I was literally just like, all right, you're gonna feel stupid, but there is something here that we need to figure out. So I will do dad jokes. So I posted
I will say we have done something right, and I'm not sure how we did it, but in Iowa, when they had their youth straw poll, like the first one they did back in September, Bernie Sanders won it, right? Yeah. And then when they did it again right before the Iowa caucus, Andrew Yang won it. Okay, and this is not something the Yang gang can hack, right? And then, like we like to do, like go find these polls and vote for Andrew. Yeah. This was grade school children, and historically they picked the winner, right? Yeah.
You're kind of giving me PTSD actually, because that was like so exciting. And then Iowa was such a letdown. But yeah, you're 100% right.
Something happened there. There is an undercurrent. Like, for instance, Andrew's going to be on our live stream next week. And my 11-year-old nephew texted me and said, ask him if he likes Tool. And I was like, you know about Andrew Yang? You know? So there is something going on there. And we don't even know what it is.
The 11-year-old
it's all Eddie on TikTok, I'm telling you. What's that?
Yeah. I said the 11-year-old listens to Tool? That's some hardcore shit.
He's been to several Tool concerts. Anyway. But yeah, he wants me to ask Andrew if he likes Tool. I was like, okay, I will.
I bet he does.
But there is something going on that we may not even be. And I get stuff like friends that were school teachers. They're like, I have this kid walk into my class and Yang, gang, math, everything head to toe. And it is something that we don't quite understand yet, that we can't say that we've actually failed yet.
Honestly, so that's the kid that can afford the math gear, right? Like, we might do something next time around where we like do giveaways for kids. Like,
if kids are wearing it to school, that's good for us.
Yeah, because I mean, some kids might want to wear it but can't afford it, so that might be something next time around where we do some kind of program where we get them all this swag. You know what I mean? But yeah, like I've heard a stat before. I forget where I heard it, that every year there's more content made, and just in general, like books, movies, social media content, everything. There's more content made every year than the previous entire history of humanity, including the years before. So every year it just keeps stepping up. Yeah. So that's where I'm like, okay, we just need to do anything and everything, which is. It sounds daunting.
Throw it at the wall, you know.
You know what I mean? Like, but that's where we're at. That's just the world we're in. We're in the world of clicks, where everybody's competing for clicks. Everybody's putting out as much content as possible, and you know what I mean? Like, Trump's doing it at the point where he doesn't even care if it's good or bad. Like, he just wants the attention, period. And that's what he ran. That's what he won on. And I'm not saying put out bad stuff, but I'm saying the strategy of getting more clicks, like creating more content, putting all that out there, like, it's not going to be like it's gonna end up positive some way. Like again, TikTok. I don't know what the fuck I'm doing on TikTok, but I will post some random ass
I
dad
don't either.
videos.
I tried. Yeah. I feel like this is definitely Eddie's wheelhouse, and he is responsible for teaching us all. And I think he should go make Megan a TikTok account right now because she said she wants one. So, but we have to, and I'm guessing we already are, because like I said, there's a lot of youth that we're not counting, that are not being polled, that literally got polled in Iowa.
Right.
So in 4 years, and John, I don't know if you've ever, do you see a lot of young people that are interested in Yang or?
Yeah, so it's kind of weird for me because I teach in.
That's why I was asking. That's what I was getting at.
I teach in an extremely conservative school district. And so I think there's just a lot of Trump people and kids that come from Trump families. But there were definitely some, it's tricky because I'm really not allowed to get political, understandable. But I would tell, especially my upperclassmen, I would just kind of mention some of the stuff I was doing for Yang.
Yeah.
And a lot of them found it they were into the idea, they liked him. There were a couple I met that were actual Yang Gang.
Yes.
So there's definitely potential for all kinds of, movements coming from the youth that are currently 16 but will be 20.
Yeah, and we don't know what they're doing. We're not
Yeah. So it's, I don't know, back to what Ellers was saying, the whole just getting as much content out there as possible. That, I feel just the name of the game, and it's something that we should find to be an awesome opportunity, because that's our game. That's our thing, is the internet. That's one of our biggest, and another thing I don't want to forget to mention this is, there's a lot of, back to the argument of, social media and whether or not it's real life. The perfect social media campaign, honestly, is structured the way we did Congress pass UBI, where we not only did we get it to trend and we had the Forbes article and we got all of the internet things, but we had attached to it links to do things in real life.
Yeah.
So, write the letter campaign. And so that's when we really nail it. And that's what I feel we have to keep doing now, is we need to get things going, on the internet, but then also have it be something that could easily transition into a real life letter to a representative, or kind of try and hit both, go from URL to IRL,
Yeah, and that's something, again, we're just figuring out. It's not there's a playbook somewhere. You know what I mean? That's all right, you should also do this.
Writing it.
We're writing it right now. And then the more we figure out and develop right now, and the more content we put up right now, it's going to make it's not going to make 2024 easy if he runs again, but it'll make it easier to the point where we're not I just searched for Andrew Yang gifs on Twitter today. Yeah. And there's just pages of Andrew Yang gifs on there. Yeah. And I remember in the beginning of the campaign, I would search it and there'd be 2,
3. Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I remember that. Yeah.
And that's something where it's just we need that for everything, because it's even to the point where we need to also figure this out for 2020, because there's so much shit up for grabs right now, not up for grabs, but at stake in 2020. Yeah. I feel where we still need to be present and be making an impact, because there are so much fucking things so many things we need to influence right now.
I know.
So that's,
it's so tricky right now, because we've got Yang himself telling us to vote for Biden. I ran a poll that had 1,500 votes, so a pretty solid sample of what Yang Gang is thinking, and I think 47% said that they plan to vote for Biden.
He said recently, he's look, I they know what I'm doing, but the polling shows only 42% of them.
Yeah.
So he's even
yeah,
you ain't got the Yang Gang.
No, I think he knows. I think honestly, he probably loves that about us, that we, because it shows that we do come from diverse backgrounds. Somebody who was a diehard Trumper in 2012 that now switched to Yang, like they're not going to go vote Biden now. Like it's not like all of a sudden they're thinking like a mainstream like party line Democrat. That's just not how it works. And there's people, and people in the chat are saying like, especially after today,
what he said,
like, and they're even like there's people, and I kind of go back and forth on this, but I totally understand where people are coming from when and a lot of Bernie people are in this boat too, where they think that like this sounds crazy, but a Trump win might actually be the path to like eventual big time change, like get a pendulum swing back, where I think people fear like a Biden win and then 8 years of like nothing,
status quo.
And then for sure a pendulum swing back to like Trump's son or some shit. Like who knows what'll be happening by then? But it's like I think there's people who are not. It's not just like a revenge vote. People who like Bernie people and Yang people who are like I'm gonna write in Yang or I'm gonna not go or whatever. It's just like no, like the idea of Biden winning. Like there's an argument to be made that it takes us in some ways further away. And I don't know. I think when Yang kind of gets me changing my mind on this sometimes, especially recently on the podcast, where he does sound like he means it when he says that he's working on having Joe Biden win. There's like, if I knew for a fact, and I think this is the case for like the entire Yang gang, if we all knew that no matter what, we're going to have like a clean slate 2024 race, then we would all, I feel, or a lot of people would be like, yeah, then I'd prefer Trump not to win. But I think people fear that like if Biden wins, then like what? So then it just like if Biden drops in 4 years, then it just goes to his VP. And like, how does that work? Like there's no question.
Yeah. Well, and Trump was an answer to the kind of politics that we're saying, like, here's the answer to Trump, you know? Yeah. You had 4 years Trump was your warning bell, right? That he got elected. So you had 4 years to be like, holy shit, okay, we need to do something. We need to change something. Something is wrong that we elected Donald Trump. So here, let's have more of that.
Yeah.
Right? 4 years to unfuck yourselves, right? And we put up Joe Biden, right?
I'm still mad how the fuck that happened. Like all you had to do is put like it's not. I don't know. I understand what Yang's doing. I understand that he has to. He can't just openly go against the Democratic nominee and that would kind of nuke his. He would. But.
Yeah, people are nuts that don't understand the long game he's playing. Like, obviously, he has to support, first of all, because he said he would.
Right.
From day one, he said he would support the nominee, so that's what he's doing.
He probably never thought it was going to be Biden either, but, Yeah, but it's just like I mentioned before, he's doing things that in 3 years, 4 years, those Democratic voters that we unfortunately need are going to remember this. And they're going to like, oh, I like that guy on CNN, or I liked how he was supporting Biden. Like people need to see that because there is still this like red team, blue team type of mentality. And somebody in the chat said that like, we have to save democracy. Totally. I know. It's like, the Trump thing is, I don't know. I go back and forth in terms of what I think is going to happen, and I think a lot of Yang gangers do. It seems like there's such a range of opinions in terms of what people think is going to happen and what people want to happen and what people think is the most perfect path for our movement to come in and take over. It's just tricky, and it's like, especially today with what Biden said, it's just he just keeps shooting himself in the foot. It's like,
I know.
Well, that's the thing, and he's doing it like uncontrollably at this point. When Trump comes out with something stupid, you're kind of like, well, did he plan that as to to try to get headlines? Biden, you're just like, you should be retired, dude. Like, it's not even any bad feelings towards him. Like, he's old enough, he's done enough good. Like, he needs to just be on a beach somewhere just relaxing. Like, there's no
Me and
reason.
Bernie both, yeah.
Like, seriously, like, I don't know, like, if there's a minimum age for president, why isn't there a maximum age for president at this point?
100%.
Like, you know what I mean? But in terms of Yang, like, Yang, I understand what he's doing. In terms of me as a Yang supporter, like, you don't automatically get me, you know, it's the same thing we were talking about before with the Bernie Bros kneecapping people, and then like, oh, you're going to kneecap our movement and then think we're just going to come back over towards you. Like, no, Biden needs to implement some damn policies that are actually going to bring some people over to his side. I can't name one Biden policy that he's going to implement that's going to be like positive impact on society. His whole thing is that he's not Donald Trump.
He's just going back to the Obama days. Yeah,
like, let's go back to the Obama days, but you're not Obama. Like, that's the thing. Like, Obama beat Biden's ass, like, to get into the presidency. Like, I remember, I remember watching that. Like, and we're at the point, like, we still need to hold Biden's feet to the fire, because just not being Donald Trump is not going to be enough, especially if he keeps fucking up like this. Like today, like, I don't see him winning. Like, there's already a shirt on Trump and Pence's campaign site. I think I didn't have time to go to the site to verify.
It's not real.
Is it not real? It should be real. You see that hashtag?
You ain't a black person if you vote for Trump.
Yeah, he put on a shirt. It should be real.
Hashtag, yeah. If
God.
a real shirt, honestly.
No, okay, if that's not. I think someone clipped it. I swear. Okay, give me a second. You guys talking. I'm going to try to find it.
I don't, and honestly, I will say, for me, in my head, I just think that the DNC has messed this up so much that Trump is going to win. Like, just today, just when I think like, oh, maybe they can pull it out, then today it's just like,
I know.
No.
I have days where I'm like positive Trump is going to win. But then other day, I mean, I know it's like dumb to talk about polling, even like just because of what happened 4 years ago. It's tough to take it seriously.
Hillary was winning,
and what the numbers are, but it still gives you a pretty good barometer of what's going on. And like, Biden is beating Trump in a lot of like the swing state polls. But then you see some other swing state polls where Trump's winning, and it seems to kind of bounce back and forth.
Are you shitting me?
All right. On Trump's actual campaign shop.
Oh, it's on Trump's. Yeah,
it's on Trump's. An
airhead. I thought you were saying it was on Biden's
Donald
site.
On Trump's site.
Can you imagine if Biden was selling these shirts? I don't think so.
Biden would do some shit like that too.
Yeah. Let's lean into this one. Let's sell these shirts. Yeah,
Biden's just teeing it up for Trump. Like, hey, here you go. Here's some more ammo.
All the Democrats are, like when he put out that ad with Nancy Pelosi where she's like showing you her $24,000 fridge and all her ice cream, and then he's cutting to people like, we can't afford to eat. We're starving, right? Yeah. They're making it easy on him.
No, and it goes back to the point where, like, I forget who I was talking to, but they literally said, like, the older generations that are in power right now, like every previous generation, they passed the torch to the younger generation. Like, okay, we're gonna go retire. You guys handle it, and the torch was passed. Right now, the older generation's holding onto the torch, and they're not going to pass it. And they told me, they're not going to pass the torch. You have to take it from them.
Well, and that seems to be like a kind of a boomer thing in general. If you think about like in the workforce, these positions that usually they would retire and bring new people into, they're squatting in those positions. Yeah. So of course they're also squatting in the government. It's. I can't explain it, but they're kind of doing it everywhere, and we will have to,
And the thing is, they're just in there because they have the power and they're going to hold on to it. They're not exactly doing everything. They're not in there because they're smarter than anyone. Like, they're not doing anything super like very strategic that we can't beat them. Like, this is I know it's my first round, like actually being in like the political arena and trying to figure shit out. And we're just gonna keep improving from here. Like it's not something that is not doable. Like we just have to be smart and strategic and figure out pretty much hack, not literally hack elections, but like kind of hack how to do these things so that we can make a greater impact. Like it's doable. Again, if we keep talking about things like this, where we started on social media and now we're looking at Donald Trump's campaign shop. But
that's just how it goes, whatever.
No, I really wanted to check if that was real because I saw it earlier and I was like, of course, like Biden's just throwing them softballs and they're just knocking it out of the park. And like, if you put up anyone from the younger generations, none of this would be happening. Like, can you imagine Yang in there right now? Especially with everything going on, like none of this shit, like DNC.
Yang has had his own gaffes. I still remember putting him on a chair in Ames, Iowa
that
to
was so good,
speak.
though.
And I watched my career flash before my eyes as he jumped off that chair and said, I want to see Bernie do that. Like,
that was amazing. We need more spicy Yang. I love that.
I'm like, I'll put him on that chair. I'm so fired.
That whole, like, that energy is so good. And it's
it was fun.
Like it just like attracts a bigger and more like proud movement. Like we're talking about the DNC and just how like out of touch they are. And so I went to, in 2016, I went to and this is like ultimate stereotypical white guy stuff, but I went to a Dave Matthews show, and he was playing a Tim Kaine rally. Okay. And the word rally is like a really loose term here because it was terrible. Like everybody that was there, like just was there to see the music basically. Like there was just absolute zero energy when Tim Kaine was up on the stage talking and we're trying to rally people for Hillary. And I remember that day being like, Trump is going to win. I mean, there's no energy behind this campaign at all. And, people, like it's easy to forget because it seemed like Biden picked up steam so fast, like once South Carolina happened.
Yeah.
But it was so manufactured. I mean,
bingo.
Remember in like December and January when the different candidates were in Iowa, there was a video or a picture that came out of like one of the gatherings for Biden. There were like 4 people there. Like there's
like the chairs. There were like
remember that? Like there's
in a tiny room. Yeah, I remember that.
Right. And then
I was there. Like we saw nothing for Biden. Like he just wasn't there. There was no presence. There was no supporters,
Like he already has no like real enthusiasm besides the fact that he isn't Trump. And it's just a different thing when you have somebody like obviously Yang or more recently Bernie.
Yeah.
I think Bernie could have won in 2016, like if he was the one, because it's just there's something to be said for that energy and passion, and when you don't have it and the other person does, and not only passion but like Trump doing this thing, like they're willing to take risks and like put this hilarious shirt online, and like if you go to a Trump page, if like whenever Trump's website is down, it's like this page like Hillary Clinton's presidency does not exist.
Yes.
Oh
like his base loves that. And
they when they say they're better at memeing than us, I gotta hand it to them. So they can be. Yeah.
Yes. Like the actual, like the mainstream left can't meme at all. Like that's like, it's tough to sell that's why we should.
You guys, I remember when Elizabeth Warren launched a meme page, like they literally took out an article in some digital newspaper about it, and then when you actually went to like their Twitter page for it, there was no memes.
Oh my god, it was like her selfie line.
Yes.
Take a fucking selfie and it's just
a
Yang
was just like, we were all over. We were like,
No,
you
that's
can't
what.
fake it. You can't fake like good memeing. Like you can't try too hard. It ends up hurting you if you try too hard, and it's like lame and corny. Like you gotta either have it or you don't, and that's kind of, I feel like no other Democratic candidate really had that behind them the way we did, and certainly Biden doesn't. I mean, it's
You know what?
no matter who he picks as VP, like I just don't feel like I don't see anything moving the needle.
I'm nominating a spicy advisor for Yang.
Okay.
Yang needs a spicy advisor because when I saw that thing with him jumping off the chair and saying, "Let's see, Bernie did that," that was the best thing ever.
Because and he just did it, I think, because he was mad at me because I'm like, Andrew, don't bounce on the chair, because he was shaking on the chair, and then so he jumps off, and I'm just like, oh.
So Chrissy Ken Math,
she's the anger advisor.
She's the anger
translator. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I say,
bring her on.
So I know I'm just showing someone an example. So she takes Andrew Yang's tweets. So this is Andrew's tweet. Here's my startup idea: Bane masks that actually cover your mouth, voice distortion optional. And then Chrissy comes in, like it's Chrissy Can Math on Twitter. She translates the angry version of Andrew Yang. So her version is, here's my startup idea: Bane looking ass mask to cover your goddamn mouth because y'all clearly struggle to put on a fucking mask right. And yes, Karen, you can breathe through the mask just fine for your 30-minute grocery store run.
I love Chrissy.
Bring her on.
Yes, Chrissy, where are you?
Chrissy, are you here? Sometimes she's here, I think.
I don't know. Someone call Chrissy.
We're not that cool.
It's unfortunately we have to be like a little more careful than Trump is, because we're trying to win over Democrats. So it's like it's like when Yang do you remember the anxiety around thinking that Yang was going to get canceled because he called Trump like a fat ass, basically?
Yes.
That was like a couple days.
He's like, I want to challenge him to some kind of contest.
Oh yeah, and it was also kind of like, I don't know, it like seemed unnatural because Yang's such a nice guy, so it just came off like not great. That was. I remember we were like, okay, Daily Beast did a story about it. Like, hopefully that's it. But yeah, luckily that didn't ever really like take off. But it's just, unfortunately, we do have to, like, there were people in our movement mad about that. And so it's kind of, I don't have
that was frustrating to me. It seemed like every other week that Yang was trying to cancel Andrew Yang, like.
But I think that's a function of like how diverse we are, and how that leads to everything he says is gonna like piss off a small group of us. That tended to be what happened. It was like a tightrope he was constantly walking. But then everybody always came back. How many times would people leave and then come back?
Yeah, that's true. But it's always, and it still is like every other. It feels like very often the Yang Gang themselves tries to cancel Andrew Yang.
Yeah.
And there's just so many of us that came over from like the Bernie camp, and there is kind of still, even, no matter what your politics, our environment, our political environment, and even our social environment is still very like cancel-y, right?
Yeah.
And we want to cancel it. It seems like we want to cancel him before anyone else as some sort of pen. I don't know. It's just like, give the guy a break. He's human. Like, I mean, hold him to like if he's really messed up, obviously. But it's sometimes it's like, it's just the littlest things. It's like, just let the guy be human sometimes.
I know. And he, like, I think what we love so much about Yang is like the way he just talks off the cuff a lot of times, but that's gotten him into trouble. I mean, that's got the most recent example, like within like a week, there was the op-ed that got him into trouble.
Yeah.
Was the what was it? The tweet about like having the military voluntarily get coronavirus.
Yeah, it's literally stream of consciousness stuff.
Yeah,
He just tweets it like you and I do. He just tweets it out, but he's Andrew Yang,
Yeah.
so it doesn't work like that.
Yeah, but it's
he was basically thinking, "Wow, this is really cool that you know this veterans would do this." And
right. He doesn't. It's just like with the. Somebody tweeted this at me the other day and it was hilarious, but it was like Yang's biggest fault is like assuming people are going to be smart enough to understand what he's doing or saying. So like the Biden endorsement, perfect example. Like he, I don't know if he expected the backlash. Like in his mind, Biden had a 99.9% chance of winning.
Yeah.
He had done the math. But as far as Bernie people were concerned that night, like they still thought it was a 50-50 race. And so they really took offense to that. So that to me was like a miscalculation on Yang's part, where it's like, this will be fine. And then Bernie people were really pissed. And it's like, it's unfortunate because it's like they should be able to see why he's doing what he's doing. But
they never really paid that much attention to Yang to know who he was. Like they just saw him as in Bernie's lane. He was either a threat or he was supposed to support Bernie. They didn't know Yang. So like we didn't even see that. I didn't see that the level of backlash, and Andrew obviously didn't, because if y'all remember the 24 hours after that he sat on Twitter like sympathizing with burners that were attacked. I texted him. I'm like, Andrew, are you okay?
That was sad.
He's like, yeah, I'm fine. I'm like, you sure?
No, he's a good guy. Like he's a good guy, and he actually cares, you know what I mean? But like,
it's breaking our hearts watching him do that. Like, oh my God, he really feels bad that he hurt people with his, his endorsement. Yeah. So
I do think he won a lot of those people back with the lawsuit. So that was cool.
Yeah, true.
So here's a clip. Here's a clip. I want to let me know if you can hear it. Okay. That I think he's leaning into more of the spiciness. You guys have heard this. So.
We've got a lot of fucking dumb smart people.
I love that. The fucking dumb smart people.
A number of them worked for Hillary Clinton in 2016. We have this.
Perfect.
The best first sentence of a podcast, or two sentences of a podcast ever.
Yeah. Yes. Like when we talk to him, let me just make sure I applaud him for that, because we go from the point of people getting mad at him for saying shit during the campaign, and like he's leaning into it, which I love. Because it's all true.
He is getting a little like you can tell he's feeling a little, maybe, I don't know, a little looser of tongue, and like I don't know.
Do you guys think that something happened in the last little bit that's making him kind of return a little? Well, yeah, I mean, definitely that, but like he's a little more willing to, like on the Sam Harris podcast, he mentioned, like Sam brought up how Biden had committed to a woman for VP.
And he didn't tell me that.
Didn't tell me that when we fucking, like
the second time he said that too.
Yeah, so he's a little more willing. And something else that I thought was like super underrated was on Twitter the other day. Somebody tweeted, like just a random account tweeted, like I wish Yang would run third party. And though that's like tricky territory, like you piss off Democrats by even entertaining the thought of third party.
And you are banished.
You really are. And Yang replied all casual, like, well, it's like tough to do it now, but with ranked choice voting, it would be like even just like acknowledging a third party tweet was something I hadn't seen him do. And it's like, I wonder if it's because of the like Stephanie Kelton being on Biden's like I feel like, I don't know, like it pissed a lot of us off.
AOC and like he made no overtures to, and I think I think Yang feels that, like when he was on Trumper for Yang's live stream, he even said there, he's like, I'm operating as if I'm running again in 2024,
right.
Yeah. So I feel like probably the Biden administration is like it seems like they kind of cart him out like they did earlier, just like as a token, whatever. But to me, it seems like behind the scenes, they're probably not taking him seriously.
Well, I mean, look at it though.
Yeah.
Like, Andrew's all about impact, and what the fuck is the Biden administration actually going to do? Like, they're not. Their whole goal isn't impact. Their goal is to just get in there and not be Donald Trump. So, this is just me thinking out loud. But I mean, if he's looking at it like, where am I actually going to make more impact? He's probably looking at the Biden administration being like, yeah, I could be in there, but they're not really going to do shit.
Let me do anything. Yeah. Or
like,
even, or if even it is a thing, it's probably not in a role that is even like significant or can do anything or moves any kind of needle. So yeah, he's operating as if he's running in 2024.
Yeah, I mean, I bet it's so tricky for him. Like a good example was when Crystal Ball on the podcast kind of challenged him on the Biden thing a little bit, and she was like, do you really think that Joe Biden is gonna like make any kind of difference or is gonna do the things that you're hoping he does? And there was like a long pause kind of before Yang's answer. And it's almost like he was like, like he wanted to just be like, I fucking know, like, you're right. But he has to, like, he's playing that game right now. Like, I think he does genuinely want Biden to win, but I think he, deep down, the real Yang that we know and the Yang that, talked to, a group of 50 people at the after parties, like when you saw the real Yang, he's still that guy. But he knows that if he's kind of all in on the Democratic Party, trying to reform the Democratic Party from the inside eventually. So you've got to do these things. You've got to say the right things and go on CNN and kind of be mainstream friendly and not push those limits. And it's like, I think to him it's probably frustrating, and to us listening, it's frustrating sometimes because it's like, I know that it's nobody in the Yang gang. It's tough to be passionate about Biden. It's more, plenty of people will vote for Biden, but it's only because they like people are saying, to save democracy. Like, fair enough.
Even like Biden still needs to do more for that to even be the fucking tagline. Like,
right.
You're just gonna get in there and just be there.
Yeah.
And there was one comment Andrew made once on like a Biden tweet where he's like, the Yang gang could probably, or what was it about? It was something about Biden doesn't know how to use the internet. And he's over here like, maybe the Yang gang can like.
Biden still needs to do some more shit for UBI before we do that.
Yep.
I'm like, boss, don't volunteer the Yang gang for this.
No, I mean,
he knows he can't. Like, none of us are going to be going like nuts on Twitter for Joe Biden until if Joe Biden was like, hey, Yang is in this high up position and we're going to do a lot of these, Yangian strategies, then we'd be all about it. I'm sure.
Cool. Oh yeah.
Him actually doing that.
Well, no, that's exactly what I'm saying. Like, Andrew can't say it, but we can say this shit. Like, Biden, do some shit that we can get excited about and that you're going to improve our future, because otherwise you're just going to be in there. You're just there. You're not going to improve anything. Like, Yang has some awesome fucking ideas, and to ignore them says more about you that says a lot about you if you're just ignoring him.
Yeah.
Especially right now. The fuck, the pandemic. Like, sorry, I'm getting mad.
Yeah. No, this isn't it crazy? Just like how much this pandemic has just accelerated everything that he ran on and everything that people have been talking about. I mean, I like to sometimes just randomly pull out like a clip. Like today, I tweeted the one where he just went. It was one of those days where Yang was just on, like during the campaign. I think during his Georgetown talk, and he was talking about economic measurements and all of how we need to kind of like shift our incentive structure for our economy. Mm-hmm. And it's like, it just is so relevant.
Yes.
Like it already was, but not a lot of, I guess less than 5% of the country was able to see that it was relevant. But now it's like right in everybody's faces. The fact that 40% of these jobs aren't coming back. Companies are being incentivized to automate. Like these are all just facts now. And they're they went from, because I think when people in November and December were hearing about automation, they're like, oh, whatever. Like I can't even wrap my head around the idea of a self-driving truck and that being the norm. But it's like, now, once it directly impacts people's lives, which it is,
Yeah.
there's a reason why his popularity, it feels like, has kind of skyrocketed in some sense. And it's like, I don't know. Go ahead.
No, I was just going to say his tweet the other day. Remember when I used to sound like a futurist?
Yeah.
Yeah. So true. It's so true. And it's like, that's the other thing. Like, I'm guilty of being petty and trying to, like, it's like, I think George Tarr tweeted this a while back, saying that we are just like sitting on a pile of "I told you so." Like, we just have, like, it's insane how right he was about so many different things. And I guess that's another thing. We have to, like, walk the line. We don't want to be total jerks about it. We want to still be welcoming and all that stuff. But it's hard sometimes not to get pissed,
Exactly. This was already on my page. Like, I was just scrolled past it. I'll read it. So Chrissy's angry translation of "Remember when I seemed like a futurist? Those were the days." Chrissy's translation of what Andrew Yang said is it, "Remember when I tried to warn y'all motherfuckers about the clusterfuck we're currently in and people said I was a futurist and ahead of the times? Well, guess the fuck what? It was right on fucking time."
Awesome.
It needs to be a book. Chrissy, make this into a coffee table book,
Yes.
please. Because yes, it's all on point. I feel like we covered a lot. I still feel like there's a lot we can cover, so we should probably have John back on sometime. And also
Yes.
Treacle.
Yeah.
This thought goes through my head all the time because I feel like Treacle should narrate my thoughts, and then I'll be a lot more articulate.
Yeah.
So literally in any of our group chats, I'm just like, what
Yeah.
Treacle said, I can't add to that. Like,
I said it early on when I first came across Treacle, probably late last summer, early fall. I was like, that dude is the messaging king.
Yep.
I remember you saying that. I was like,
Andrew Yang needs to hire him or something.
Yep.
But yeah.
yes. So let's we're an hour and 16 in.
Yeah.
So
So unless we want to bullshit and tell stories from the trail, we probably should wrap it up. I don't know.
Yeah. Were there any final social media things that we didn't get to?
Well, I just want to. I wanted to ask, what do you see as our future? What is Humanity for Yang's future? What is the social media future of the Yang Gang? What are we doing? Tell us what that looks like.
So like, one thing about Humanity for Yang is we're kind of in limbo a little bit in terms of, like, we were thinking about changing our name and kind of like rebranding because we're trying to branch out beyond just Andrew Yang. Like, we want to help out any candidate who's running on those ideas, and we want to be in sync with the fact that like, this whole movement is beyond just Yang. But we want to see what happens in November. Because if Trump wins, I think everyone knows that it'll be like next day, Yang
2024.
That'll be the attitude. Where if Biden wins and, like, just I know Yang, it does help that Yang said that 2024, it sounds like, is going to be a thing no matter what. But I think as far as our future, I think we keep doing what we're doing in the meantime, where we just try and push these ideas, try and mainstream UBI. Try and turn URL to IRL as much as is possible right now. And as far as the future, I mean, I've been thinking a lot about this. Like, when we imagine a few years from now, if we kind of keep up this momentum, even while our candidate is not in any kind of race, I mean, it'll be like total blast off in terms of our ability to take over parts of the internet that we want to. I mean, if you look at where we finished in these states, like, we had a small movement really in 2000 for the 2020 race, but we made it look big online, and we made people give us attention. And it's like, if we're able to rally and, like, double or triple or quadruple our numbers by the time we're in a real campaign again, I mean, I feel like there's no stopping us. There will be no equal or anything even close in a few years, especially on, like, the Democratic side. So that's my, like, whole, that's kind of like my outward vision, hopefully, for what could happen in the next few years. But in the meantime, I mean, like Treacle's always great at reminding us this, as always, but he always talks about the movement and how we can't. And another, like I was saying with the Bernie thing, a lesson is to not attach ourselves to one man.
Yeah.
Because you never know what's going to happen, and whether he's going to run or not, or if some other UBI candidate comes, like who knows? So it's the ideas themselves really that matter, and so I think we need to keep doing that. Keep our movement as like outsider friendly as possible and welcoming, and try and attract as many people to the movement as possible, and just like set the stage, for what could be a 2024 run, or, and in the meantime, I mean, I think today what we did was awesome. Like we need to boost these congressional candidates, and
let's keep doing it. Just because Andrew isn't in the race, like we've just started,
Yeah. We need people in office that believe in these things. And currently there's like nobody, there's like barely anybody that is really fully in line. I mean, there's a lot of people right now who are in our corner with cash payments, but
like Tim Ryan. Yeah.
Yeah. But it's like, you wonder, I mean, how many people in Congress right now, even people who are down with the payments, how many people are down with like permanent UBI? Like,
right.
Think bigger. Like even when things return to normal or whatever, like this cannot be something that you just give people money for a few months and then cut it off. And so, I think. But
also, if you think about it, if they do, like a lot of these bills have it going for like 6 months or a year after, because we need to rebuild, right? So keep it going. Can you imagine if it does pass and then it's like a year after, we've declared COVID dead? Can you imagine them trying to take it from us at that point?
No. That was my thing. I was like, once they implement it monthly, like who the fuck politician's going to be like, no, I'm going to be the one to take it away.
Yeah.
Like, no, you normalized it.
Yeah. That'll be so unpopular. And like people who, I don't know, I just feel like people will get used to the idea and see that nothing bad happens and their stress levels are down and they're doing better in life. It's like, I just feel like it'd be right now is kind of the perfect kind of like test to see how it goes. And I haven't heard one person complain about their check. So
yeah, exactly. So do you guys want to stick around for a few more minutes? It looks like Jonathan Herzog wants to jump in here and expound on this discussion.
Sure.
Do you guys have, okay. Ellers, can you send him the link?
What?
Ellers does everything. Like
I don't know what you're talking
he is a jack of all trades. He's literally, there is nothing that he can't do. So thank you for figuring this out for me, Ellers.
Can't make those treacle videos and have those treacle thoughts. That's some wizard shit.
Well, that's what I love about the Yang Gang is so many different people bring like so much. And it's weird that we've all found each other because
it is, right?
Yeah, it is.
And it's also cool how many like cool people there are that when you go to like the real life meetups, like there's just an insane energy. Like people just connect like immediately,
We know each other, and then we don't even have like people don't necessarily even have a similar background. But it's weird that we do know each other. So I love the Yang Gang.
Jonathan, the link's in your Twitter DMs. So
Tyler, can you tell him?
Yeah, Tyler, tell Jonathan it's in his Twitter DMs. Took me a minute to find him. But yes, the in-person Yang Gang thing is like everybody's talking about the same thing. The first Yang Gang rally I went to, like in LA, it was a crazy-ass LA one, which was awesome. And it was just people just like coming up and talking about the Yang ballsies and shit, just random as hell, especially for California, because California people don't just walk up to each other and start talking.
We have a guest.
Hey.
What up?
Hey.
Wow. Hello. Long time no see, fam.
Oh.
I can't look at you the same since I saw that picture.
I know, man.
Oh my gosh.
Don't
worry.
Picture that's now Eller's background on his phone.
I look literally nothing like that right now. It has been a long winter, shall we say.
Yeah, whatever.
It is so good to see your face, Yang Pope Francis. Oh my gosh. I did not. Like, wow.
He slowly got more anonymous through the stream. Did you notice that?
Yeah,
He
he
used
gets
to
like
be all
darker
lit.
and darker and
I'm
darker.
trying to
It's like,
maintain-
He walked away and turned down the light. I don't even know what that
oh
was.
my god, I love
Yeah,
it.
it didn't do much, right? Yeah, this is like, yeah, my one bedroom apartment is like a good selling point. I need like the freedom dividend so I can get some like lighting and
Oh my god, same.
get my shit together. But
Can I just
Jonathan,
say
how
a huge
you-
fucking thank you to all of you? You are fucking heroes on the fucking front lines of 21st century digital trench warfare. Like, thank you so fucking much. It's incredible.
Hey, whoever made all those meme templates, like,
That was amazing.
oh, that was amazing. I went on the Google file, and it was all these meme templates. I'm like, holy shit.
Yes. You know what? Last night I actually sat in that Google document and just watched people editing it, and like,
Oh
and I'm
my
like,
gosh.
I'm learning something here. You know, like you guys really, y'all organized, and it was impressive. Like the
Yeah.
part that you guys played was very impressive. I was like, I don't think we've ever really done that.
No, I was like, wow, we missed out the whole. They filled a huge gap that we didn't.
Where was the Herzog? What are you guys? The Herzog?
Herzog mob.
Yeah. Where were you guys? Now, I
Herzog
mean,
mob.
not saying that the Yang Gang doesn't know what they were doing, but I was like,
Mhm.
holy shit, that was nice. Yeah, Herzog.
Oh my god, Treacle. Holy
Yeah.
shit. People have been freaking out. I mean, really, it's just been like all of you and Treacle and the Humanity for Everyone and like Helen and the entire team. It's just like everyone took it on their shoulders.
Yeah.
And I know there were so many other conflicting things happening at the same time.
You know, like Biden just going off.
Yeah.
Just, you know,
whatever.
another
off
day
script.
in the life, as it
Yeah.
were.
Jonathan, do you feel like progress was made today? Like you think we got their attention and it served somewhat of a purpose?
I think there was definitely progress made. I'll say one of the best, or sometimes one of the best metrics. I think actually you all know this very well now, and I'm so glad you got to experience it for yourselves. But when you get the kind of, shall we say, Boylan experience, that's like a good signifier of like progress is being made.
Yeah.
because
What did
because
she
you have
say?
to
I'm blocked.
Oh, I mean, don't worry
He's
about
blocked
it.
too. He doesn't know.
I am too, but it's just a great proxy because that's what $1 million can buy you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's what's so incredible. So Errol Lewis did follow, unfollow, and so on. I mean, I'm just like, first off, always just so grateful and take none of this for granted. But like, I'm always like itching and eager to like keep going because I think the thing that I've internalized from every step of the Yang process is, and I know it's like a sore subject, but it's like, when they tell you like, don't worry, like we got this, like it's just not your time, like we'll like incorporate your ideas into our, big tent. It's just like, it's bullshit.
Yeah.
Let me tell you this with a great degree of certainty because we've now been in court for weeks
Yeah.
just to get Andrew Yang on the ballot.
Ooh.
And there's still people getting ballots that don't have any of the other presidential candidates on them. So like, I'm always like, I think we need to be fighting at like always like 10x, 100x, because we set a ceiling for our power that's much lower than it is.
Yes.
And that's why I love and am so inspired by you all in particular, because you really, I don't know how, and I would actually love to get a better understanding of this, like how you get the sense, how you know so well that like there's nobody in the wings and like we have to just operate and go. Like,
Yes.
yeah, I mean, I'm just so curious because I want to replicate and scale that. Like, that is the challenge of our time.
Yeah, it's like, and even going back to like the actual Yang campaign, there were a lot of times where we were kind of stuck in between where it's like, should we just random grassroots people in group chats?
Exactly.
Should we try and go big with something? Or does the campaign have something in mind? And like, that's a whole.
And
other...
let me yes.
Go ahead.
And
Yeah.
so let me confirm this to you. And like, I think Heidi, you were also on the campaign. Like, let me confirm this to you, lest there be any ambiguity. Just like Andrew always said, there's nobody in the wings. I've met presidents, I've met senators, I've met politicians. Ain't nobody like flying the plane. Same goes for the Yang campaign. Let me tell you.
Okay, I'm glad we're allowed to say that. We've had these discussions. But like I was saying earlier, I was like, Andrew himself has no idea how the Yang gang has done what they've done.
And I so appreciated you saying that, Heidi, because it's just the truth.
Yeah,
it's just the truth.
Well, nobody expects him to know everything either. He's being carted around in front of cameras all day, every day. So how the hell is he supposed to catch up?
That was his job. That was his job.
That's what I'm saying.
Go to appearance to appearance. But he's even still like, "Hey guys, can you help me with something?"
Yeah,
right.
We're like, sure.
There's, I don't think there's any secret that there was like some drama between grassroots and like actual
campaign.
and campaign, and like I tend to like defend Zach. When his name gets brought up a little bit, just because he was focused on other things. I mean, I think if there's one thing we can improve on for 2024, it's like everybody doing what they're good at and having the freedom to do those things and still being in some kind of communication with each other, so that when we have, like, even today was a good example. Like, if we had a perfectly timed Yang tweet when we were sitting at like 22 or 23, it's like that could have been the difference potentially.
Yeah.
Not to blame Andrew, obviously, but it's like if we had a perfect system where we had this like grassroots digital type strategy, but then also got buy-in from the Andrew with his 1.3 million followers and just everybody that could really make an impact on those things. And I think it's going back to just the whole social media discussion. It's like, we need more people to buy in to the fact that when we top 5 and when we get free media out of that, and when we can turn that into, URL to IRL, like that is impactful. There's value there. And I hope the communication is better, I guess, next time around. And it's funny to hear that like metaphor of nobody's flying the plane.
That's everything in life as well.
Or the campaign, which they did a lot of things well. I mean, there's no doubt about it. But it's I hope there's like definitely a system of communication where everything is optimized, because I feel like there were opportunities missed,
Well, they literally, it kind of was a sudden thing where they came into this money and then they were like, holy shit, we're players here, right? And then trying to get into the game and run a traditional campaign, because I was there in Iowa when they were bringing in all of these politicos and all these people that were traditional. They work on campaigns but that was happening in December and January,
Right.
So it I can't get too mad at the campaign because they did what they could with what they had, and it was very late in the game when they actually became real players. So
and also on like the flip side of things, like Heidi, we had, I mean, now they're hilarious memories, but at the time it was like sickening and terrifying when you would call me after hearing a rumor.
I never did that, by the way, John.
Sorry.
He's breaking my NDA there. No, I'm just
I
never told him.
I mean, there were like with the whole, because I think the campaign was right in their approach, where they cannot waste time on like petty drama on Twitter.
Yes.
But there were times where, like one time specifically, where there was a tweet from Alyssa Milano, and it was like just sitting right under a tweet from AOC for like 24 hours. And it was like a really damning tweet, like about just the Yang campaign and bro culture and how awful we were. And it was like, this could blow up. Like, this is something, Twitter isn't real life, but that line can get blurry. And then that did backfire when the whole like Alyssa Milano thing happened. So it's kind of, it's one of those things where we need to know next time when something is worth looking into and squashing. Like,
well, I think
that situation in particular was not being ignored. I was part of it.
Yeah.
It was behind the scenes. It
Yeah.
was.
I think a big point of that is perspective, right? There's some things that you can't see from the side of the campaign that the
Right.
Yankees over here like, and not just bad things, just in general, like, hey, we need to trend this.
And you just in general don't want to get into a Twitter battle with Alyssa Milano.
Well, no, right? I mean that's even besides that, just like, hey, we need a billboard here, things like this, and I think that's what we're trying to build out right now, so that the campaign can do what the campaign needs to do.
Yes.
And then we have other mechanisms so that when we need to pull the trigger on some things, we don't have to wait for it to run up the ladder and back.
Well, and I think the big thing and what Jonathan's trying to say, and we've discussed it before, is there's no adults in the room, right?
Yeah.
Stop deferring to the adults. They don't know what they're doing either, right? Stop deferring. Stop asking permission. Like the things that we have done has shocked everyone. And they're like, what's the friggin' Yang Gang doing over there? And it's because we didn't defer to an adult. We didn't ask permission. Like we worked amongst ourselves. Yang Gang has no clear like leaders or like there's no hierarchy. We work together and then we go do it. We don't ask anyone permission, and you learn that's how the world works. Everybody is flying by the seat of their pants. I've done a lot in my 38 years, and I've been in the military. I've worked in the government. That's how it is. Yeah. And the person that can cut through that, right, can see like, hey, nobody knows what the fuck is going on. Why are we all just like asking each other like, hey, what are you doing? Or should we do this, blah, 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 and sees this is what we can do. This is what we should do, and then fucking do it. Just like what you guys did, Jonathan, with your court case, right? It was a huge outrage. Like the burners were so mad that they canceled the primary. And you guys are like, hey, you can do something about it, right?
Yeah.
No one was taking that logical step. And then once you guys did it, they joined. But it took you guys being the adults that are just like, hey, we don't fucking like this. We're going to sue in court over this, for other people to be like, oh shit, you can do something. And that's so Yang Gang. That's like what we do is we're like, okay, y'all can sit over here and bitch and moan and whine, and we see a path and we're going to go for it. So, rant, sorry.
No, it's all good. Like that's right. The path we're trying to go. And we're going to keep doing these things and build out mechanisms so that when we see those paths, we get to hit them harder and faster. Jonathan, we were talking about kind of what the vision is for the path forward, and Tyler commented and said you guys were having a similar discussion. So what does the discussion look like from the Herzog mob?
Wow. Okay. So there are a lot of components to it, and a lot going on. And I want to always, because we're so like forward oriented, like goal oriented, not get distracted, and but I do think like context and kind of situating everything in its context can be valuable. Yeah. I think that where to start? There's just so much. There's just so much. I'm just looking at Helen and Tyler over there.
Oh my God, are they in the room?
You guys could get on the camera if you want.
What the hell? I would like to meet
You don't have to feed them lines.
Yeah, come in.
Helen, I will reply to your DM when I'm off. I saw it.
Your earbuds.
Oh,
we need to take out the earbuds.
So when you guys are arranging that, again, I feel like we're just. Hi, there
Hey, everybody!
Awesome. It was awesome today. You guys were killing it. Everybody's killing it.
You guys killed it too. Like I said, I was very impressed with your operation. I was just like, oh wow. And then when I got on the Zoom call, Jonathan's like, Heidi's the expert. I'm like, no, I'm not.
You are.
You guys have, and you guys really put together, like it was very organized, and I freaking loved it. So you guys killed it. And I'm glad we were able to help and to be a part of it, because this is like what you guys are doing is really important. So thank you, and thank you for letting us be a part of it. The Yang Gang has to stick together.
Yeah.
Yeah, we have to
course.
work together, stick together.
I might
We
say
have to
something
do it,
crazy.
yeah.
Helen might shoot me.
Uh-oh.
Yes,
Don't.
that's
I
what
wanna
we
give
need.
So I want to give some context. The way we met in December of last year when we were all kind of roped into being delegates for Yang in New York.
Yeah.
And like a couple of days before, we're supposed to get 40,000 signatures to get him on the ballot. I like texted Helen and I was like, hey, like, so there's no plan. So want to meet up and like try to figure out a plan? Because like ain't nobody like figuring out how to get Yang on the ballot. Even though there's like a supposed team or people, and we're like, okay, now there's so much, but I'll try to keep it concise. Anyway, so we come together in this like same chair, same table, we just put up like events. We're like, okay, we don't know where to go in New York City in the dead of winter in like the end of December. So we put up an event in Battery Park City, an event in Midtown, Uptown. We're like, everywhere. We don't know where to go, how this works, what is a delegate, what are signatures, what is a ballot, like what the fuck is all. Anyway, we like literally traversed the entire city for days, and we're like, we like wear you like have maybe seen the pictures of like signs on our backs, and we're holding the fucking like clipboards.
Yeah.
We literally walk like 60 blocks and we're like, oh my God, fuck. It's all tourists in Midtown. Fuck. No, we can't go here. They're not Democrats here. Oh, and then we just like traverse the entire city, literally like on our own. With like but and that's how like that was first formed, because I was like, Helen was the only other person essentially who was like,
we love you,
we're
Helen.
gonna get it done because it's not getting done.
Yeah.
And Andrew Yang will
and it turns out you didn't actually have to do it either, based on what your opponent did. So anyway, but I digress.
But so anyway, and again, this is probably not like a strategic thing to say in the context of our planning, but I just want to be forthright about where my mind is at.
Yeah.
Like, I think we even need to, dare I say, move forward from all of our conversations around Yang 2024. Like, Andrew Yang deserves like a Nobel Peace Prize. He is like my Lord and Savior. Like, seriously.
Yeah.
But like, I literally like put up a mock website for helensaw.com. No, I think this is important. Oh, no. Because like
I love where this is going.
Are you announcing her candidacy on our live stream?
This was literally not the direction I expected at all. But I think it's just important to share, like, because I think you all see things with such clarity in many ways that even many in the Yang Gang don't. And like, go ahead. Sorry.
Well, no, I was going to back you up, because it's not something that like so out of left field. You know what I mean? Like, we've said it, like, we want to build these things out so that if Andrew Yang wants to ride off into the sunset with his family,
so
like,
if he wants to retire, he's
exactly,
you know what I mean?
Exactly.
Done the work.
He got it 80% of the way. We need to be able to carry the other 20% of the way. Exactly. If he wants to run in 2024, fuck yes, we'll do both ways. You know what I mean? But we don't want it to be like all of it riding on Andrew, because not only is that not fair, that's just way too much fucking responsibility to put on one person. So yeah, back to you. Sorry.
No. And again, like, literally did not expect to be saying any of this.
Yeah.
Because it just came up in my mind, and Helen may shoot me. But I mean, Helen, I know I think Helen is 48.
No.
47.
I'm 47.
Helen is not 47.
Helen is 47.
37.
Helen is 47. She is like,
I thought she was like 23.
Helen is literally 47. And like a literal like cryptocurrency genius.
I'm not.
Okay, so now we're gonna just morph into this is a live stream about Helen. You can go.
No. But
we need to talk to Helen.
No, but Heidi, this is so important because like like you. No, not 27, 47. Sorry, I know you might shoot me.
No, it's fine. I'm not like. I'm cool.
But the reason this is important, Heidi and fam, is because like, you know, we all had our experiences and like in and out of the Yang campaign and whatnot. And like, I like really just like shared all with Helen, right? Like everything. And like, she was the first person I met who like wanted to reach further than me, who wanted to go even bigger. And that to me was wild, because I keep coming back to this in the cycles of like my, you know, relation, you know, the like whole Yang thing is that like, to be frank, like one of my biggest frustrations and tensions throughout was like, again, I'll just say it, like,
go ahead.
Like, and again, it's been said by others now on, you know, public record, like, the goal may not necessarily have been to win, to become president. And like, that was something for me I could never accept. I can never accept that, like, to me, the only outcome was like, you win and you become president. Like nothing else suffices, nothing else matters. I don't care about bringing this to the mainstream. Like go write a book, as you said, you know, like, like you are that person. And I just shared this all with Helen in the course of us, like, you know, doing all these crazy things, getting Yang on the ballot, going to Iowa, going to New Hampshire, getting ourselves in the ballot, COVID, these lawsuits, et cetera, et cetera. And she was the first person, again, all the world of Yang, the entire campaign, in and out, like, who said, no, like, first of all, you're not crazy. Second of all, actually, we can reach even higher, go even bigger. And like, you know, I had many moments of like self-doubt about this race in particular, right? And like, but it was just all like going through the data on like how we could actually win it, and how like this could be like the biggest upset in modern political history, and like the biggest win for you, like, and it was like Helen who was like, no, like you have to do this. And it made me hit a point where I was like, the selfish thing would be to settle for anything less, essentially. This is like pretty circuitous and not that articulate, but like, yeah, I just think like, I hate like when I remember sitting down across from Andrew in like very, very early days in Boston, when like I roped him into coming to an event on campus. And this was like back when he had like, you know, like fewer followers than me. Wait, like half your followers, Heidi. And the only question I had in my mind, and the only question I wanted answers was, do you want to be president? That's it. Like, I had watched all of his videos, I devoured his content. I was like, you have to be president. I have to do everything to make you president. Do you want to be president? And that was the only question that like I wanted answered. And I remember the answer very distinctly to this day. It was like, well, the like probability of me like it's probably less than 51%, but if we look at it was like a probabilistic
an Andrew answer.
Yeah. And I was like, and this was always a thing throughout, and I'm like being so roundabout, but I think it's just the context is so
it's important.
It's just like so baked into everything we're doing, and like all the like things I think we should be doing. But like, anyways, I suspend disbelief, and it's because I go to Iowa with Carly and Andrew, and I like do all this crazy shit. I like tell him to like do. I like tell him to do these like theatrical exercises and like yell at him. I'm not sure if I told you guys this already, but like, and
you didn't.
Oh, okay. So basically, okay, so this is coming out of left field. So we're in like a fucking like Days Inn over the highway in Iowa, and this is like October 2018, and it's just Carly and me and him, and I was like basically just had him do all these like vocalizations and like presence exercises and like all these things, like sat him down in the bed across from me, and I was like, why are you running for president? He gave and I just like drill like, And then I had this like very, very, very long discussion with like Carly that night. And ultimately like left and dropped everything and went. But like even in the campaign, I remember, because my singular obsession was like, our base is the IDW, our base is the intellectual dark web, Sam Harris et al. And like, even in my conversations in the campaign, I was like, I don't care what you think about me. I just need this guy to be president. I really don't care. Like, I know I'm a pain in the ass. I'm an asshole, this outsider, nobody, nothing. But like, you need to understand this guy needs to be president and this is our base. And we would have these conversations and I would hear things like, oh, like, you know, Sam Harris, etc. Like, that's kind of been tried, or like, you know, like that's like, you know, we've kind of hit the ceiling there, let's say. And I was like, no, absolutely not. Like, again, like, I'm sorry, but this is it. Like, he's our guy and we have to do it. All right, I'm going to stop. But the point is, I think we need to be trending at #1 every single day for the next 3 days and force the first 3 televised debates in the history of the district and oust the 30-year incumbent and have Yang Gang go to fucking Congress, because there is no ceiling unless we impose one. And I've seen ceilings imposed time and time again, and it kills me. It kills me.
Yeah.
Because like everything in politics and power and life is timing. And like, I'll be frank, like the time for Yang was 2020. And like, I know that's like a freighted like thing to say and everything, but like there's like these narrow pockets of opportunity that just don't, like, things don't converge in the way they do. Like, it just doesn't happen. You don't go from 0 to 1. You don't go from nothing to everything. And it's like, that's just my constant sense of like, we always set our ceiling too low. Yeah. Anyway, I'll shut up for a second.
No, it was
no,
good.
we
Like,
were on this journey with you. Come on, dude.
There's like so much more. I would love to talk about. Anyway, it's like 11 p.m. and I've been hijacking everything. So.
No, it was all on point, and I think you have the same feeling that we all have, where if 2024 comes around, then we can worry about it when it comes around. In the meantime, we need to be impacting. Yeah,
we are in 2020. We can win.
Well, no,
now.
there's so much at stake, right?
Yeah.
Like 2020, the rest of this fucking year,
we're in a
like,
Great Depression.
Yeah, that's the whole reason for doing all of this. Like there's so much to fucking impact in 2020 between now and the end of the year that we can't just be sitting around like planning like, hey, like I understand the discussions that we have about like, okay, will Trump or Biden be better for Yang in 2024? But it's just like, there's so much to fucking do right now to the point where I'm missing, like I have too much on my plate. Like I'm trying to put so much on there just because there's so much fucking at stake right now. Like if there's a chance for you guys to get in there and beat Nadler, fucking do it, because like he needs to pass the torch. Like this is the discussion we're having already. Like the generation, the ruling party that's in there right now, they need to pass the torch. If they're not going to get things done, we will do it ourselves. Literally what we were saying today, right? Like, so there's so much we can do in 2020, like especially with what you guys are doing in the campaign. Like there's so much at stake right now, and we need to get people in there that are actually going to make a difference and not just cater to the establishment, because it's on either side. It's not, this isn't a Republican or Democrat thing. This is everybody fucking in there is just catering the establishment, playing the games, and if they're not going to do the job, we'll kick them the fuck out.
And there are no rules. Like they're literally just they're doing their thing and hoping we don't notice, we don't like interrupt their little thing. But it's so easy to do. It is so easy to interrupt their thing. And we showed what we could do for Yang, and I think the Yang Gang can do it much more broadly. We can shake up their fucking world because we don't need permission. We don't need we're
just learning that.
Yeah, well, we definitely learned that during 2020. Like
we're just getting started. Like this is the thing. Like everybody's just realizing the fucking potential of how much we can actually impact. And I think a lot of people like were down after Yang dropped out and everything. So we're getting back reactivated and saying, hey, we can actually impact a fucking lot right now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, and that's the whole thing with what we're doing with the trending, with the organizations and everything that we're doing is like, we don't have to wait a few years to impact. Like we can build everything out now. And if 2024 comes around, cool. If not, also cool, like yanking right into the sunset because he got it 80% of the way. You know what I mean? Like, but 2020, like there's a lot fucking at stake right now and we can't be sitting back.
Absolutely.
Awesome. Yay.
So,
That was a lively discussion.
Fired
to
up.
that end, are we then going to? We're like the Herzog team wants to keep going. They want to keep going.
Yeah.
So what do y'all want to do? What's the
Wait,
next
where
step?
are you going?
Just tell me what's the next
Where are
step?
we going, Helen? Come on.
So here's a story. Like I'm Korean. I don't know if you guys know, the South Korean president, who was a woman, was ousted by the Korean people because they had a sit-in. They sat on the streets, like every family, grandmothers, children, the entire family would go and sit on the streets in Seoul every single day until they kicked the president out. And that's what they did. They had candles, they sang, they just did it every day. And then they kicked him, This was like shortly after Trump got elected too. It was like,
so what's
everyone
our
was like,
version of
hey,
that?
South Korea, how'd you do that?
So-
Asking for a friend.
So keep going with that thought. What's the next? So what's our version of that?
Persistence.
Persistence pays. We have to keep going. So that means tomorrow we can keep trending all weekend, like Heidi said. Heidi, you were the one who said it. We can keep doing this. Like if we do it every day, it's not going to be a Biden day every day. It's not going to be like, you know what I mean, hijacked by some other thing every single day.
So is it something
we can trend even higher? But even today we had a win.
Yeah.
Today's win was he responded. We were adding Errol Lewis and he responded.
I wasn't so sure about that.
I mean, he did. We have kind of a story, like a history with the New York.
My background is Iowa politics. Like the Minnesota nice. Like, just don't cross them. New York's different, I guess.
New York's a little different.
Different.
Yeah, a little different. But we also have a history with them. Like, they're friendly with us. We knew that kind of planning a debate. We just didn't know if we were like how it was going to get planned exactly. And, when you were first announcing your candidacy, Jonathan, he had gone on Fox News.
So here's the thing. I don't have any expectations, but I'm like, okay, gonna run, like, put the announcement out. Fox, the number one cable news TV show in the world, they're like DMs, texts, emails, all of the above. Laura, and it's like Jason Chaffetz on Laura Ingram's show. And they do a 4.5-minute profile of me in prime time, more than 2 million viewers. And the reason being is because these people despise Nadler. They will do anything to get rid of it.
That's legendary.
And so they try to goad me into talking bad about AOC. Mm-hmm. I wouldn't do it. They actually had me booked on Martha McCallum the following day. And then they ended up canceling it because I didn't play to the script.
Yeah.
I think the goal is to reach even higher than New York One and to get Tucker Carlson or any of the Fox News people who are Yang Gang who have a vested interest in having the Nadler face a challenger, have a debate. And so I think adding someone like Tucker Carlson or Brett Baer, I think that could be the next play.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I like it.
Because also, so New York One, you didn't say the New York One part where
was considered traditional in running in a congressional race in New York.
Yeah. Normally you go through the local networks first.
Yeah, I mean, there's all these rules. Again,
but he sort of skipped over that.
I mean, you guys actually know this better than most people now because you have this window into the Boylan campaign as a great example. Which again, $1 million.
So true.
$1 million
was spent.
That's what that buys you. And over 2 million has been spent on this race alone. 8 people tried to get on the ballot initially. $2 million were spent.
Yep.
So like, there's all these rules, right? And like, we're not abiding by any of them
At all.
You're getting shut out. So,
But so here's the thing, and someone's saying Dave Rubin, like, yeah, like we can also
Dave
like
Rubin.
there were emails early on in the Yang days where they would be like, everyone message Joe Rogan, everyone tell Sam Harris to have us on, everyone tell like Mark Maron to have us on, because we couldn't get on anything. They couldn't get on anything. And so
tomorrow, are you saying we should gear something towards Fox News? I mean, Trump's also talking shit about Fox News, so they're wanting, some content and shit. Yeah. I don't know. What do you think? So what would be if we tried to trend something tomorrow, which, I mean, it would have to be some, I don't know. It's possible.
Could we not continue the trend that we hashtag today, or do you think it's not
So John, with the algorithms, if to try to trend something 2 days in a row, that's something that the algorithms don't like, right?
Yeah. We don't have it down to an exact science, but we figured out pretty early on that when we tried to trend things multiple times, it didn't really pick up the second time. So we haven't done it. I almost want to revisit it, but our general rule has been to switch it up, and that seems to be like friendlier for the algorithm for whatever reason.
So what about hashtag Herzog Nadler debates at Tucker Carlson?
Yeah. I mean, I think we, like the reason we went with today's hashtag is we just kind of like wanted to get our foot in the door a little bit.
Yeah.
I think,
Totally.
Yep.
Yeah.
And it did just that.
Yeah, I think it worked in terms of like it would have been nice to trend top 5, but for a variety of reasons that was sort of tough to do today. But I feel like now we could probably get more specific. Like we were, the whole point of today was to be. I mean, it helped that like Mike B and some of the others were tweeting the hashtag, and that got us on the list. And now I think we could take it a step further, and now it makes more sense, I think, to have a more like Herzog specific tag. So
so they don't feel like they can wait us out, the 24-hour news cycle, like they'll disappear. Let's keep the pressure on them. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
I like it. So gear the messaging towards Tucker Carlson. Have the hashtag be Herzog or Nadler debates Herzog, or Herzog debates Nadler. Which one do you think?
Herzog Nadler debates, right?
Herzog Nadler debates. Okay.
Yeah.
Have the messaging geared
debates, singular or plural?
Debates.
Plural.
What do you think?
Plural.
Say plural.
Because we want more than one debate.
Okay.
What Nadler did last time to his previous opponent in 2016 was that he waited till the day before the primary, and he was like, "Okay, I'll do a debate," but then he scheduled it for the day before the primary.
So when we include that in our messaging, like, hey, historically Nadler tries to avoid debates, and Tucker Carlson won't let him get away with that. Something like that. We could talk shit. I'll talk shit.
Who besides Tucker Carlson? Like, we should fill up our tweets with as many, increase our chances of getting people's attention, right? So who?
Yeah.
Yes.
So Tucker Carlson and
I think Brett Baer.
Brett Baer.
Yeah.
Because I was basically looking at like who has hosted like Democratic town halls or debates, and so like the DNC obviously they were like no. Oh, what?
Someone said Herzog versus Nadler.
Oh.
No, well, we want the word debate probably in there.
I think Herzog Nadler debates is good.
Yeah. I think
Yeah. I mean, as like concise as possible, honestly, is also like a big trending thing. Like it's just easier for people to use. And like the one that we're going with is pretty like versatile. Like we can I can't wait to watch the Herzog, like if you can use it in different sentences, like that's even better. And I feel like this one would work for that. So we got Tucker Carlson,
Brett Baer.
And who else?
Because Chris Wallace was who we were trying to get at today.
Yeah.
He doesn't have a personal Twitter, and so that was his like shows, like Fox News Sunday was his show.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. What about any like independent voices that might be interested in like hearing about this or pushing it as a story? Like any like that aren't on like mainstream news? in addition?
Joe Rogan.
Yeah.
H3 production.
Herzog on, like try and get Rogan to have you on. That'd be awesome.
Weinstein.
Eric
Yeah.
Weinstein.
Yeah.
Weinstein, actually, that's
Weinstein would be interesting.
He is all about like whatever crazy shit anybody wants to do. So
he's actually responded to some of our
he
tweets.
replied to you,
Yeah. We were like, hey, what do you think about like protests and stuff? And he gave us like 4 long ass tweets about what he thinks of it. So that's
a good one.
No, that is actually, I'm glad you mentioned Weinstein is a very good one because he is like specifically passionate about this, about getting new blood into politics and how there's like a blockade stopping that from happening. So I think
Crystal ball.
Yeah, crystal ball.
Crystal ball.
Oh my God, Kat is in the chat.
What up, Kat?
Kat.
Kat's the only reason any of us have toilet paper during the lockdown.
Yep.
Yeah, true.
She was the oracle.
Kat literally beat the WHO, the Surgeon General, the mayor, the health commissioner, the governor, literally every fucking elected official.
Yes, oracle.
She did.
All the way. Like, not even exaggerating. Like she was there in the very beginning. I forgot what we were talking about because Cash.
He just said she's right. His DMs are open.
No, they are. They are for sure.
He likes the Yang Gang. He respects what we do.
So we could do a hashtag trend.
Hashtag trend and maybe even like a separate, like kind of a bunch of us nicely tweeting at Weinstein about this.
Even
tweet
it, everybody.
Our trend tweets like a specific message, So I like it.
So anybody watching this is how the sausage gets made. Apparently Heidi's microphone gets knocked over because she bangs into it.
Listen, Tyler sat down and I thought it was like I was like
the forest.
So I like the hashtag Herzog Nadler debates. We gear that hashtag towards these people that might host the debates or talk to you about why Nadler doesn't want to debate.
Wait just a sec. So this comment has me intrigued.
Okay.
Like I feel like I feel like there's a pretty like good potential for more attention on a scandal, like with the Google gate.
That actually okay. That ties right in. So my thought, in the back of my head, I was like, okay, we started with the really wide open net, and what if we narrowed it down every day? So tomorrow, that fits in perfectly if you did something along with that crazy ass story about how they're like
Google.
Yeah, the whole Google thing is fucking crazy, and I don't know who the hell wouldn't want to talk about that, especially like Weinstein. That's right up Weinstein's alley. And then the next day, then do the Herzog Nadler debates. So kind of have it like just narrowing down every day. Does that make sense? If you want to do it all weekend.
Yeah.
That's just a thought.
And I mean, like to your point, John, it's like Rogan, Tim Pool, like Dave Rubin, all these people are like obsessed with like shadow banning and like all these things.
Yeah.
It's like very much like I think it's like Rogan's favorite topic.
Yeah. That I feel like there's a ton of people who would be into that story. I mean,
crazy ass story.
Yeah, and the people who are like passionate about that topic probably also align with you politically a lot of times, Jonathan. So it's like I feel like it's a kind of a perfect storm.
And Nadler would have to debate you if that got into the mainstream.
Yeah.
Well, so that was the kind of catch-22 is that Breitbart published the piece and then Breitbart published the piece.
Right.
Right. And so it got like pigeonholed in this very narrow space. But like if we can get that to the Dave Rubin, Joe Rogans of the world, then like they can make that a story.
Yeah.
Have we done a press release for that too? Like this is the other thing with trends. Like we should be pairing them with like press releases and shit too. Honestly.
Yeah.
Like moving forward, like in terms of hashtag, like the playbook, like we should also be blasting out press releases.
Yeah, we probably should.
True.
And make that like get that down so that we could have an email list like, all right, this is where we need to blast out the press releases and just make it easy. And that's more of an organizational thing for Ford United too that we need to do. But
yeah. Well, we should continue this in the DMs and get a hashtag for tomorrow, right?
Absolutely.
Definitely.
Update that document, guys.
I know, guys. I gotta do the same thing.
Update it all. Yeah.
Okay.
So
Beyond.
tomorrow, okay, Anna, perfect question. So tomorrow, did you want to do something along the lines of the Google Gate thing?
Or the debate.
I really think something along the lines of the Google scandal thing that's going on would.
Yeah, I agree because it'll give momentum going into Sunday.
Yeah, because then if you follow that up with the debate, like if anything with what the fuck happened with Google gets traction, like Nadler can't not debate. Like,
what if is like? Do you guys think what do you think would trend higher, or what do you think would pop more for people that are just scrolling? Do you think simply Google Gate, and then we just have all of our content with it, or do you think
Yeah.
People will click on that? Like, what's going on with Google Gate? That's brilliant, John.
like
It is.
I like it.
you guys
Google
like that?
Gate.
I like Google Gate.
Social media wizard just bam in real time.
Wash Heights 44 gets the credit if you look in the comments.
Shout out Shane Moynihan.
Wow.
Shane Moynihan. Nice.
So-
Google Gate.
That
Google
This
Gate.
sausage is being made in front of everyone's eyes.
All right. But, yeah, we can go. We'll talk to some people and confirm. But anybody watching this right now, I would say let's plan on it, right?
Yeah.
Google
Yeah,
Gate.
we would
We're
need.
getting Google Gate trending tomorrow, guys.
All right.
Google
need-
Gate.
Woo!
Yes.
We need
Doing
some definitive, like, we need some simple way to explain what the fuck happened. That's something if you guys can explain. Or
Yeah, we'll
work
touch on it on the doc.
Yeah. We'll get in the doc.
Yeah, I mean, it's just like if you search Andrew Yang, a hit Google News page on a computer, page 7, apparently he was a member of Al Qaeda along with me and Jeff Curzon. So,
Hi, guys. Come on. Jesus.
Yeah, let's go. You guys have like, screenshots and everything, right? Of like the
there's
results.
screenshots.
Yeah.
So many.
And again, you all know this better than anyone.
You have to
Screenshot.
No, I don't know anything about that. I used to have a security clearance. I knew nothing about you guys and Al Qaeda. Sorry.
Oh.
Don't drag me into this.
Screenshots are the last line of
Absolutely.
defense for our democracy.
They are.
Yeah.
Hell yeah. I'm excited. Shit.
Oh my gosh.
Right.
Yeah, let's
All right, we
do
got-
this.
We have a lot of planning to do.
All right,
Anybody
yeah.
in the chat, please spread the word that tomorrow is Google Gate. Hashtag Google Gate. It's hard to say.
Google Gate.
It's easy
Google
to type.
Gate. Google Gate. Yeah, it's true.
Google. It's just me. I mumble.
That's
Hell
so
yeah.
small.
So I'm gonna, even for the podcast, I'm gonna cut off the audio podcast. So I'm gonna make Team Herzog a whole separate episode. So we have this whole separate. So awesome. I'm glad you guys jumped on.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah. Thanks
This
for
is
having
great. This is literally just how Yang Gang does
So
it. So,
amazing.
you know. And we need Helen back because she's going to teach us about cryptocurrency. I
we have-
bought like 0.000001 Bitcoin recently.
Hey, that's more than a lot of people have.
It was $9.
It will
She,
grow. It
she
will
turned
grow.
me from a skeptic, no coiner, whatever the term is, to like a believer.
We and I'm being serious. We do want to talk to you
No,
about that.
offline for reals. Like we have some projects we need to talk to Helen on because
Yes, we
that's
do.
actually
We've
like
got a good one. I think you'll like, Helen.
Okay, awesome. Please get into Google Doc though. If you want to edit the Google Doc, go in there, jump in there.
Can you guys put the link?
Edit. Yeah.
Yeah, I'll
Maybe
DM
we'll
it
put
to you.
in the chat.
Yeah. We'll put it in the chat.
I have it. If you could put it in the chat. It depends. Whoever you want to have it. Hell yeah.
Can I
So we'll-
can I add them to the brain trust?
them?
What's that?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, yeah. Sorry.
Is that can I add you? Can I
I
add
thought you were asking to add them to your group. I'm like, it's your group, dude. You do whatever you want.
No, it's
Well,
like
we
it's
tried
like,
to add everyone.
But you got like 900 people in it, so good luck.
That's how the
we
groups
couldn't add
end up.
Ellers though. Ellers was the only one we couldn't add.
No, you can't add me.
Elders.
Nah, you're the
Oh,
only one we
shit.
couldn't add.
Somebody's got Ellers blocked, apparently. That's how it works.
One
That's
of those
true,
900
probably.
people did. Oh, I know who it is, Ellers.
Just one?
I sure looked through that whole list when you guys added me. I know who it is. I'll tell you offline.
All right, we'll boot that person and put me back in.
They're not participating, so you totally could.
Oh, we
Damn.
could. Yeah, no problem.
I will participate along with the 18 other.
Yeah,
texts.
I'll participate too. I'm in there under humanity, but if you could add my
Add gang.
Middle school yang.
Yeah, little yang.
Okay.
Yang Pope Francis.
Don't you have to do it from a computer? Because
Yeah,
it's
you're
over
right.
50. It's over 50, yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Or 900.
I don't think we'd trend this as early because we're getting a late start on the planning.
Good idea.
So
Yeah.
I think noon it might be a little early. Maybe give it a few hours. What do you guys think?
Noon PST.
That's great.
Noon PST.
Yeah, maybe 3 hours because I think.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
three Eastern.
So 3 Eastern.
Yeah.
John, what do you think? John's that's just.
It's a Saturday, John. What's the deal with Saturdays?
First, I think Saturday's like actually pretty like to our advantage. Honestly, I feel like there's probably less news happening, but who knows? Every day is the same nowadays. But it's like I feel like we could probably get away with starting later. Go 2 and 11 or 3 noon, whatever you guys think. 3 Eastern, 2 Eastern. What do you think?
I think 3. I think you give it an extra 3 hours, and then we can catch everybody on the West Coast up because
Yeah.
Yep.
especially during quarantine, we don't really get up that early.
Ours doesn't.
Seems
do
like there's a lot of
I'm-
night owls in the Yang Gang.
I was
And it's
never a morning person, and this whole thing, I'll be like stay up till 4, and then it's bad.
Yeah, let's do it. 3 Eastern.
Okay. Great.
Tentatively, we can go talk about it.
Yep. We'll
Yeah,
take it offline. So
Boot that person and add me in there, or you can add Ford United to it.
oh yeah, you could do that.
FWD United, and then
Okay.
I can participate through that,
Okay. We'll do
and
that.
then I can see who's blocking me.
I know who it is. I'll tell you.
Sorry, I'm petty.
All right.
It's all good. Thank
All
you all
right.
for joining us.
Yes.
Thank you, guys.
Love you.
We will talk to you, and tomorrow we got a new hashtag Google Gate.
Google Gate.
Google
Gate.
Gate.
Yes.
3:00 Eastern, noon Pacific. All right,
All
All right.
right.
awesome. Y'all stay on the screen. I'm gonna end the live stream. Y'all stay on the screen.
Don't go nowhere.
Don't go nowhere. All right. Talk to everybody else later.
Bye, Yang Gang.
Bye.
Bye.